Are here for the roundtable, and the name is very long, but it is very interesting. Ways to increase the impact of applied education on natural buildings. So that's what the topic of our roundtable is, even though we're not sitting at a roundtable. Please assume that we are here. I am the moderator. My name is Mehmet Bengü Ulu Engin. I have a lot of very knowledgeable people here, especially about education and how obviously we can perhaps have applied education for natural building materials. I would first ask our participants to very briefly introduce themselves, but before I do that, I would like to just lay out the very basic outline for what we would like to be talking about. This was something that we discussed with Merve and Ant. So first, if we could talk about issues and problems related to education of the said topic. I'm not going to repeat it every time, it's very long. What are the potentials, any proposals that we might have? Some of the participants here might be aware of international best practices, so we would like to hear about those. And finally, we would like to wrap up the session with actionable points. I think that's a very strong word there, so let's hope we can get some actionable points. So with that, if we could perhaps start here, so if you could please introduce yourself.
My name is Stefan Jörchel, German Association on Building with Earth, and I'm the secretary of this association, and I'm also involved in the educational programs of this association in Germany. And my profession is building engineer and civil engineer, and I'm doing this topic since 20 years now.
My name is Constanze Küsel. I'm also from the umbrella organization Dachverband Lehm Germany. But where I get my money from is another profession. I'm working for a Chamber of Crafts in Germany. And so I can tell something about the dual system, for example, about education, vocational training in Germany, if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Hello, I'm Mathieu. I am architect, builder. I'm leading workshop on natural building construction. At the same time, now I'm teaching at Yashar University. I'm trying especially to teach about natural building and natural construction.
My name is Göksun. I'm from Bahçeşehir University. I'm a colleague of Mehmet Bengü Ulu Engin. I'm an assistant professor, and my specialty is architectural history, and also I teach first-year design studio.
Thank you. And finally, let me go ahead and introduce myself. Well, Göksun Akgürek already started. We are colleagues from Bahçeşehir University. I teach studio. I also teach sustainable design class, and that's why I guess I ended up leading this roundtable here. I have some practice with construction of sustainable buildings, not as much as the other participants, but it's something that I'm very much interested in. I like to say I'm learning a lot. So with that, I think we can go ahead and dive right into the topic. And I would like to say two things before. Our participants are obviously going to be talking a lot more than I hope at least. But I would like to start with two things. First of all, and this is something that I see in my classes when I teach sustainable design. It's something that a lot of people are very negative about for some reason. There's a lot of hopelessness going around. And that's not something that I find very helpful. We always tend to say, and I see this with students as well, they say, it's terrible, we're ruining the world, it's just going in a bad way. And that is not very constructive. Yes, we may be doing terrible things to the world, but I like to think that we're also doing a lot of good, or at least there's the potential to do a lot of good. So one thing that I'm going to ask our participants, and also the audience, who are welcome to ask questions as they see fit, to please keep the tone positive and optimistic. We're not here to rant about, all the terrible things that we're doing to the earth. it's true, we are doing those, but let's focus on the positive here and not, try to focus on what we can do in a better direction. The second thing I'd like to start off with was, referring back to what Ant Akman said at the beginning. He said, we have, at least in Turkey, we have enough architects, we have enough experts. What we need are mid-tier people, the vocational schools, as you said. We need people who are actually in the field doing this work, because if we're all designers, then there's no one to actually build these buildings. And craftsmanship is one of the big problems that we have in Turkey. So I would like to at least hear some, words related to those. And I'm sure there are a lot of people here who are very, have a lot of expertise in that regard. Before we continue, I would like to ask our new participant to introduce herself as well, please.
Hello, my name is Mina Öner. I am architect. Also, I am maybe one of the informal students of Matthew, because I work in his projects. That's how I started. And then now I'm working with mostly NGOs, mostly in Balkans and Turkey. And I'm teaching the young people natural building materials and earthen plasters. And with my team, Pocholona Works, we are doing artistical earthen plasters in cities and rural areas. So you can ask me any questions about artistic works on earth. Thank you.
Well, very nice to have you here among us as well. So with that, let's go ahead and start. Let me start asking with, what issues do you have when it comes to both teaching and also, applying, all of these projects that many of you I know have been part of. Who would like to go first?
Okay, maybe I try to start with some points which I think are important. Just to give an input on start. From our perspective in Germany, and I think this is common to other members here, it always depends on actors, on key actors. So as far as Germany now, the rules and the framework for earth building or for sustainable building are quite common. I mean, everybody knows about it. It's not exotic any longer. But the point is to introduce it in education and in projects. It depends on real persons. In schools, in universities, in educational centers. And as far as there's someone with an ambitious idea or with a key role, they can introduce it and give a good and a deeper impact. So this is maybe good as a start of discussion.
Absolutely. I think it's a perfect start of a discussion, and I hear the key actors. I think that's a very important role, and I think we'll keep coming back to that, I'm sure. So with that, any other speakers who would like to talk about issues we have related to the teaching of our topic?
If you think about it, it could be very easy. Mm-hmm. It's a very easy way to build. It's an easy way to use materials. It's an easy way to get these materials. And in Germany, we like to say less is more. The less is more. And that's a very nice thinking. And especially if you think about building with earth. In Germany, we've got different professions in the construction sector. And normally, each profession of the construction sector can deal with earth and can work with earth, with products of earth. It's a carpenter, it's a painter, it's a masonry profession. So normally it could be very easy, but it's a pity in Germany it isn't, because we've got so many regulations as well in the educational system. We've got a lot of regulations. It's not easy to implement these new products into the official frame of education.
Absolutely.
So, but it could be so easy. So,
thank you. That's wonderful. Please continue.
I would like to ask something about it. I think here the main problem we have in Turkey is a lack of perspective. Uh-huh. earth construction is easy. Everyone could do it. And I agree. I mean, I've been teaching it in workshops since a long time, and what I learned was from workshops. So that's not the problem. The problem is perspective. If there is no perspective of finding a job, if there is no perspective of using this knowledge, why would people want to bother themselves learning this? So that's the main thing. I mean, in Turkey, most of the buildings are being built in large cities. Mm-hmm. So we are thinking about 20-story or at least 5-story, but more like 10 to 22 more story building. And there is no, especially in Turkey, there is no perspective of building with natural material with it. There are solutions. That's not what I'm telling. But there are no perspective because nobody think that it could be possible, unfortunately, and nobody is ready to give a try. So what I see with students is when I'm teaching them in studio, telling them, okay, use this material, you can use this material, you can do this way, you can do this way. But why? Why should we bother ourselves to do this?
Absolutely.
I can continue from where Matthew left. Actually, I'm not a professional expert maybe on this issue. As an architectural historian, I teach my students in the first survey module that, adobe or mud brick is an ancient building material, and it's part of this region, in Mesopotamia, in Asia Minor. Maybe one thing is it's not a material with much prestige in Turkey because it's very much associated with something maybe traditional, old, I don't know, maybe after modernization, we left it behind, and maybe it doesn't have enough prestige. That's one thing. Maybe there's bias against mud brick. And also, we had a workshop, actually. That's why I'm here with Bengü Hoca and 3 more instructors and 2 assistants from Bahçeşehir University. Last year in May, with around 20 or 25 students, we had a earthen design workshop in our Kemerburgaz campus. Actually, one thing was in Istanbul, in case of Istanbul, it is very difficult to find earth because it's immense density, land is of course very valuable, and you can't find earth, local earth. I mean, you have to bring it. We have 2 campuses, one in Beşiktaş, one in Kemerburgaz. So Kemerburgaz was more suburban, and we could find, local earth, and it was available to work. So we worked with 2 techniques. One super adobe. We had a Persian, originally Persian instructor who has worked, and he's working also on this technique, Sefer Rozan Mahol. Mm-hmm. And we also built bricks, earth bricks. So we applied 2 techniques in 2 weekends. And then we had an interview with the students after the workshop, after several weeks. And actually, that's what they brought. I mean, they told us that they really learned a lot. It was very therapeutic, and, they really enjoyed working in the field, working collaboratively, how much informative and how much fun it was for them to learn that way instead of sitting behind the computer. So it was very positive, but in the end they came to that point. So if I was proposed in school 2 different project options, one maybe concrete or steel, the other earth, I would prefer to learn, the concrete or the steel version, because what will I do with this information? So what am I going to build with earth in Turkey? I think that's where we end up.
Maybe I can add something. While we are working in the city center, we mostly found the earth from the construction sites. Mm-hmm. We are traveling, and whenever we see a construction site, we said that, okay, can you give us some earth so you can find? But it's not easy, of course. You have to find it. But also it can be reached. And also I can add something between academicians, builders, architects, and other workers in that earth building materials. I think in Turkey, as I observed, they work differently and they don't know each other very well. So academicians work improvement of the material, but it is maybe high quality work, but the builders, they don't connect with the builders, actual workers in the site. So maybe we have to work together. So maybe we can have workshops in that universities to use that material, this good quality material, in our construction site, because we try to build everything by ourselves if we don't use laboratories or anything. But now in my generation, for example, my work partner works as a researcher, and I did some research in the university. So now we are going to work together. Maybe younger generation change something in the new years. I don't know.
Absolutely. You're already crossing into the proposals and the potentials part, so that's wonderful. We're going to get there. We're going to speak more about that. I think we're touching on some very important issues here. So just to wrap up, and we can go another round if we need to, but I hear that, from Stefan, that key actors are very important. They're one of the main issues. I also hear that this is actually a positive. It's not an issue. Building with earth is relatively easy, and it is. Even a child can do it. It's as the proverb goes, it's child's work. Give a child some mud, and they will build something out of it. So it's almost instinctive. But I think there's a very important issue when you mention regulations, especially in many places in Europe. Partly in Turkey as well. It's very difficult to get certification for some of these materials. And I wish Seper was here, because Seper is one of the people who advocates that there should be no regulations, that earthen buildings are alive, and that you should repair them if something happens to them. Of course, try convincing the authorities, especially if you're building more than one story, which you can with mud brick, obviously, that, this is not going to fall down when there's an earthquake. But there are varied viewpoints, even with an issue such as that. And I know you want to say something. The issue of perspective, that people don't actually have the perspective to want to design with mud or earth or natural materials, however you want to frame them. Those were actually two very similar viewpoints coming from Göksun Akgürek as well. Students have this notion that, this is not going to be useful information for me. And you talked about the issue of finding earth, and I think you objected when Göksun just said, earth is easy to find, and it is. Yeah, you can find. Awesome. That's great. So that's one of the potentials. Okay, so anything else we would like to say about, issues related to earthen architecture in particular and natural building materials in general? I am trying to keep this relatively structured, but I would also, I don't want to stifle lively debate. So if you have something to say, please go ahead and do that. But I would like to remind that, we're first looking at issues and problems related to the implementation or ways to apply this in education. We're also going to be looking at potentials, proposals, international best practices. I'm just repeating this for newcomers. And then we're going to wrap up. So five points that we have that we would like to touch on as we are going forward here. So any proposals that you might have, or let's talk about the potentials first. And as I said, you already started doing that a little bit. What are the potentials of, having this in curricula, for example? Can you, for example, in your university envision having this in the curricula?
It is already.
Perfect.
I mean, I put it in the curricula. I'm giving a class on especially on natural building material, and that's what I want to emphasize here. I know most of the people here are earthen builder or touching builders, but there is not only earth as a natural building material, and this is really important to show it that earth is one of the possibilities. There are a lot of techniques, and there are a lot of other material, especially natural fibers, that can and should be used. And it's even easier in cities because of their likeness, because of the similarity to use with existing material. So that's one of the things. And yes, it's in curricula, and we can all, put it in curricula, especially as in education, in architecture. But the main problem is not, again, architecture. We can easily give a perspective to architects. Oh, this exists. You have examples from everywhere in the world. There are so many examples of multi-story building. Even right now in South Africa, there is a more than 20-story building made with hempcrete. So, of course, this is not load-bearing hempcrete block, and it can't be, but all the walls are out of hempcrete, and there are solutions everywhere. So for architects, it's easy. Designing is easy. But where it should be added in curricula, it is in vocational school, in everywhere where people are educating to use those materials. And I don't know everyone in the audience, but most probably there are very few people, or even no one, that is directly on the field building. I know from Pochana they are here, and they are doing it. I know you, Benjamin, but there are more with timber. But is there anyone that is here directly applying material on field? No. Exactly what I mean. We don't touch this audience here in those events, and we don't touch it usually even in the workshop we organize. That out of the about 15 workshops or more I've organized in Turkey, I didn't have any manual worker, any ustads that were participating to it, any craftsman participating directly to this workshop. Some architects became craftsmen after those workshops. That's something else, but directly coming. And this is a second way. Perspective for architects, okay, but that's easy to give the perspective to students. But perspective that there is a job here that you just need to learn. The framework is existing from Europe. There are a lot of framework to teach workers how to give certification. Everything can be directly taken, adapted, and this is easy. But we need to reach those people.
Absolutely. And I think that if we go in the other direction this time, you talked about vocational schools. I think that would be a very good point to continue with. I know you're involved with craftsmen. So how would you see the potentials there? Obviously, there are many, but maybe picking up where Mathieu left off, we don't really have a lot of people touching the earth literally with their hands. How could that be a potential, would you say, if it were to be implemented?
I don't know about the system here. In Germany, as I said, it's difficult because it depends on actors as well as the trainer. Normally, a trainer in Germany in a school can use, instead of lime, for example, a lime brick, he can use a clay brick, no problem. So, but he doesn't. So it depends on actors, but also on the curricula. In Germany, it's very regulated, and these are long processes to change a curricula. And trainer work according to the curriculum. So the question is how to win young people to work with this material. I think I think that also in Turkey, the school system, the vocational training system is very theoretical, isn't it? So, yeah. And as you said in university, it's much easier to implement through workshops, building with earth and clay and natural other materials. that's the difference. It's the same in Germany. In university, it's easier to implement these materials into the training. I think we also try in Germany to start very well beginning of the young people when the kindergarten. We start, please, try to use clay in the kindergarten, then go to school and make some workshops in the school, and so that young people get in contact with this material. And so I don't, this is my solution, and so we have to use two ways. First way to contact, to go to the people and give them the possibility to work with the material directly, but you need your own initiative too. Yeah, and the other way is politic way to the system, education system. That's a very long way. Yeah, and so. Perhaps we must go the very simple way. We must go to the basic. An example from Rwanda or from Uganda. A friend of mine, she's building a house, and they have clay and earth everywhere. And she said to the craftsman, "Please, I want a plaster." Earth plaster. And they say, "No, we don't know it. And they say, "Okay, just try. We will mix, and we make a mixture and put it on the wall." And afterwards, they have been excited. They're so happy and proud. "Oh, how nice. It's a good material. I like it." I think that is the most effective way to attract the people to use this material. Please give it to them, and they have to work. So try.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
That's one solution.
Yeah, and if we could continue that way, if you have something to say.
Sure.
Yes, please.
So maybe Constanze is completely right, and I can just give a short input about the academic perspective because as I'm also teaching, giving lectures for students of architecture and engineering, and in Germany, at the moment, or it was only in the curricula for voluntary courses, but there's a change now that it's getting more in the basic curricula, so that you have to get in contact with this material, even you don't know or you're not interested in. So this. Up to now, somehow, last year, it was just, even in the curricula, there was just a possibility to introduce earth as a material, but it was not in the basic curricula. So, but this is now changing. And also, there's another movement because of the awareness of the young people, of the students. They ask for that, so that they really ask why there's too less education and the topic of earth or of natural building materials. So there is more and more a matching of the demand and of the offer of that. And just one sentence to that, what Constanze said. We say in Germany, to be effective with the earth, you have to infect the people. If they once touched it, then they are infected.
I think that's a very good point. Wonderful. And maybe let's continue in that direction. So if we could go with you first and then...
Maybe also, for example, I work with NGOs. So we build actual buildings inside with many participants and with mostly architecture students. So maybe it is the good way, maybe the best way to learn by doing it.
Absolutely.
So, and also they are volunteer because we help people while building. It is the main idea. So they are more open to observe new knowledge about it and also more passionate about it. Maybe more associations gives a chance this natural building materials. So maybe it's more easy to spread the knowledge to local people, also the students, also other people. So, for example, we built some workshop place for women for some production in Mediterranean area, and they work with us, that old women and also the students, and we were trying to make earthen plaster. And then they come and they said that, it's old, don't bother you, let's use another material. But then they saw us, and then they help us, and then they continue. It's how it works, actually. It is the best education.
Thank you.
Actually, we also have an elective course in Bahçeşehir, again by Sefer. And it's earthen design, the name of the lecture. And the students said, once, we start taking the course, we thought it would be about natural materials, including timber, stone. And then they were surprised that it was only earth. Mm-hmm. So, and the full semester is about earth, but it's not a must course. So it's an elective one, and only the students who are really interested take it. I agree, actually, university students, first year education is very experimental, and they start to be open to many techniques. And it is maybe the easiest step to spread this information. But I think also this earthquake risk is a big maybe threat on alternative techniques and methods in Turkey, because now it's the maybe biggest theme in construction, in education. And I'm not, as I said, an expert on this, so maybe it should be also expressed and, shown that, this is also an earthquake-proof technique, because I think it's a big barrier for anything new, anything innovative or even traditional.
Thank you. I just would like to repeat that at any point, if you have questions, please, we can make this interactive. I would like to see hands, and we would be, we're going to do questions at the end, but, if there are urgent questions, they can come our way, no worries. So related to potentials, I hear a lot of positive stuff, and that's great. I said at the beginning that, trying to keep this positive would be really good. I basically hear that there are some instructors, professors who are already putting this topic in their classes. It's a bit more difficult in vocational schools, as Constanze said, because of regulations, perhaps, at least in some countries. In Turkey, things tend to be a bit more relaxed, but still there are procedures to go along with. So that seems to be, both a potential and perhaps also a hindrance. But really, I think one of the most important sentences I heard there was about, infecting people. And I think we're all actually saying the same thing related to this issue, right? Once people touch the material, they see how intuitive it is. And, excuse me, even in places like Uganda, I think you gave the example from, where it should probably, and I'm not, again, very knowledgeable about this, but it should be something that they do traditionally, right? Earthen plaster, or at least should, I don't know, but maybe it's something that they forgot over several generations. And maybe we need to, kind of give it back to them.
In Africa, it's the same as everywhere. Building with earth is some basic, and it's for poor people. I don't want. We had a very interesting, I like this example, because in my presentation I show the two young guys who won the prize from our organization, these students from Austria, with the project in Sudan. And they said they had got different possibilities of colors, of clay colors and plaster. Yeah, for colors. Different points where they put up the clay, and these clays had different colors. And then they asked the population of the small village, they asked them, for the surface of this building, what kind of clay, what color do you want? And they said, we want the gray one because it looks like concrete. So It's a very nice surface, but that's the thinking, and it's very difficult to change. And we have a lot of work to convince the people as well in Germany. It's the same, and perhaps one possibility is to convince the people if you show them very nice buildings. And I always say, sorry, in Germany, people who have got money built with clay, with earth, these people build with earth in Germany, and so it's very difficult to convince people.
Absolutely, yes. And I hear the same thing from our participants on this side as well, saying that, working with NGOs, getting people to volunteer is a good strategy because, again, it's part of the infecting, I think, that, when people actually touch this material, when they see how beautifully it goes on as renders, as plasters, etc., I think it's easier to convince them once that happens. Again, one point that was mentioned, I think that's very important, is that these classes, so far, what I have heard, at least, again, in our university as well, these are usually elective courses. Not every student is exposed to this. So perhaps they could be also part of, the compulsory education system where, they have to have some exposure to this, and perhaps we can infect them much better when we do that.
It is.
It is compulsory.
It is a studio class that I'm giving that
Perfect.
has been accepted by the university on focusing on natural materials.
Perfect.
I made it with the help of course, the other colleagues to be compulsory.
Wonderful.
In Germany, it's now getting into this.
Mm-hmm. In all universities, probably not. It's starting, I guess.
In some.
That's excellent.
But more and more.
Wonderful. And Yaşar perhaps might be the only one so far in Turkey. I mean, I'm not aware of any other that has.
Kent University.
Okay.
Many universities now invited us to teach as a studio.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
It's more and more even. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's a very good development as well.
I think about it, if we want to put it as mandatory now in Turkey, that would be important in this point to have more instructors knowing about it.
Absolutely.
Because not everyone can teach, and I see it with my colleagues. So now it's a few years we are working together, so they learn with me, but at the beginning they had no idea about what I was speaking about, and it's normal. And then now they know, and they can really teach to the students the peculiarity of using natural materials. And one point, if I may, about earthquake. Yes, everyone is afraid of earthquake, but why? The problem of earthquake is not the material. Of course, I will not make a 20-story load-bearing earthen building yet, never. But that's not the problem of material. That's the problem of how the material is used and how it is applied. Some reinforced concrete building fell during the last earthquake, and that was just material. That was application problem or design problem. So there's the same problem with any material. If the material is used properly, then there is no problem. I would be more afraid with rain like this than earthquake.
Absolutely.
Much more afraid from big rains and floods than earthquake.
Absolutely. Wonderful. What are your, what would you say, again, you already started talking about this. What would you propose? I mean, in which direction should we head if we want to make this, and I'm talking about natural building materials, of course, in educational systems. What can we do? How can we make this more widespread? What are some good examples from around the world that you know of?
I just have some idea in my mind. I want miss on the discussion is related to what you said, that you get now on a stage or on a step to train the trainers to get more people who are able and qualified to introduce and to teach about building materials, natural building materials, because we get now on a stage where the demand is getting higher, it's growing, and the teachers are less than because the educational system is not keen about developing or to produce qualified teachers for that, because it's don't know about or it's not keen about the topic. Yeah. So this is one important point, to increase the number of trainers which are able to give qualified lessons, not to have just informal sector. Anybody just knows there is earth building or natural building materials, but they don't know or do not know about the proper application of it. Absolutely. Because one point, if you have a bad experience with natural materials or with earth building materials, it's 10 times worse than one good example. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, shall we continue?
Okay, solutions. I mentioned a few, but perhaps one good best practice, or not best practice, but good example is our course for earth building specialists. Uh-huh. This is interesting for you because in these courses it's only 200 hours, and in these they learn the basics, but more than the basics. And in these courses they are craftsmen and architects together. Uh-huh. That's very interesting. The exchange, they like the exchange. And because the architects come to our courses, you have got 1 week theory and 2 weeks practical part. And the architects say, we want to know this material. And this is very important also to bring the material forward. Huh? Uh-huh. That because the planner are in the situation to say, okay, you should build with earth. Or with other materials, of course, and that could be a solution for your problem, that the craftsmen and the architects come together.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Absolutely.
the architects learn from the craftsmen in these courses, and the craftsmen learn from the architects. It's a very nice exchange.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if we could continue with Mathieu, he's very modest. He says, Aunt did most of it. I didn't do much, but I know how much you have done. And if you could specifically talk, please, about the experiments that you did, because I know of different, you built the same building with different materials and then tested it, if I remember correctly.
Unfortunately, the last part didn't happen. It hasn't been tested.
Okay. Well,
it was planned. But
okay.
There is always the main problem on this case is always budget. Yeah. And it was not a university experiment. It was before I was working at university. It was with a person that wanted a building. I'd be 3 times exactly the same building, just the wall materials were different. So it was in the aim to test which wall material was the most suitable for the area. So at least in terms of cost and speed of construction we could find, but not in terms of climate control or interior environment. But anyway, for me, if we really speak about solution possibilities and future, what is really important, there are so many things important, and one of them is exactly what we have here, giving visibility to what is existing already, and proposing what could exist. Yeah. So giving visibility to what is existing here in Turkey. So there is here there is more than these buildings. There are more. And if it was existing, if it was a website and any social media really putting them, showing them, publishing and so on, then more people would be aware and the knowledge from the top would come from down. Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what I've seen happening in France during the last 30 years. When I graduated from university, this was non-existing in the general public, but because of books, because of exhibition, because of newspaper news and so on, now it's everywhere. Yeah. And giving to see what can exist mean taking your example from all over the world and involving here in Turkey architects, engineers, builders to make a proposal and maybe build a proposal, or at least a scaled proposal to show, yes, there is earthquake, yes, there is this climatic condition, yes, there is this, but we solved it. We can solve it. Yeah. Instead of making here on my side of research or this, on another university, another research, on another university, another research. Okay, it works, but working together would be better. And I have my cup, and if you don't know Amaco, I'm sure you need to know, because this is exactly what happened in France with 4 universities starting a huge project together, making people work together, students coming, building, and doing. It's what is leading now what can happen in France.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's good. I think they have theirs. So shall we continue? With
I mean, apparently we need to spread the knowledge in any way possible. And I'm also thinking maybe this emergency architecture may be a chance. I mean, we have this post-earthquake accommodation problem in Eastern Anatolia, which was a big tragedy. And I know Super Adobe was used in some emergency shelters in Africa also. So, I mean, maybe there's a chance to take advantage of these emergency situations and integrate people to build their own shelters. So I'm just speculating, of course.
That's a great idea.
But that may be a perspective.
Yeah, actually, I can add more. With my organization and my work partners, we have a project in the earthquake zone, and we work with university, because I was from the material group in Istanbul Technical University, and then I connect with the professors, and my work partners designed the project with the NGO together, and then we connect a lot of people with Matthew even and other ones, and then we build there with the builders and the local people and with the participants. So I was thinking about, before you said that maybe now there's an earthquake, and we can put some lessons to architecture students in the universities for disaster relief design studios with the local and natural materials, because when there is earthquake, you can't reach there, you can't take another building material, even craft human, you can't take there. There is nothing there with human-wise and material-wise, so we need to be prepared. So it's a good opportunity. Absolutely. It's a bad thing, but it's good opportunity. Also in Balkans, there is education for craft humans or want to be a craft human, ECVET education system, and there are some levels so again I agree with you, we have to train the trainers and educators and the other people also.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm hearing some really good proposals, if I can just summarize here. So increasing trainers, training the trainers, that's a theme that's coming up again and again, and obviously that's very important. There are some courses in Germany where, building specialists can be trained with as little as 200 hours of training, from what I understand. So that's also very important. Giving visibility, that's what Matthew said, and I couldn't agree more. A lot of people don't know the potentials that these building systems have. So it's obviously that takes time, but it also takes effort. So I guess since we're all convened here and since we have this common objective, I think it falls upon our shoulders to make it more visible, obviously. Spreading the word, spreading it to architects, and of course then an excellent idea came up with, emergency shelter, emergency housing, and there are already some things being done about this, which is wonderful. So as sad as the situation might be where you have a natural disaster, the potential that it can create actually is immense. So that's great. I would like to, wrap up on actionable points that's already coming. I really would like questions, or at least the potential to have questions. So I would like to stop and maybe leave the wrap up till later, or skip it completely, because I feel that questions are more important. Anyone who would like to ask something or say something, please, now's your time.
Thank you, first of all, for this very nice talk. I have a question about what everybody thinks about the conversation between the new technologies and natural materials, because I got introduced to using natural materials via new technologies in an institute, and it was an education center at the same time, and it was the parametric design models and tools. It's actually also about the future, and we are also talking about natural materials rising. It's about the future. So what does everyone think about this link between the natural materials and the new design and production technologies?
You have it in a short way, because we are a little late. You just can keep in mind that everything you can build with conventional materials can also build with natural building materials, except some special tasks like maybe stadiums and stuff and bridges. But any residential building you can also build in conventional materials, also in natural building materials. There are no constructional or technical boundaries to build it not in this natural building materials. Especially if you think about wood, you can have a room like this also in wood construction. Yeah, so this is all possible, and everybody who wants to know knows about it. So it's just the mindset that you decide to build it in this way. And I think the awareness is increasing in terms of this more and more carbon carbon reduction. Yeah. And in Germany, for instance, there are carbon reduction aims which are now politically agreed, and they have to meet it, and now they think how we can meet it. And so they think about the market and the CO2, the carbon emissions of the materials.
Absolutely. Anyone else would like to contribute?
Yeah, I just totally agree. I mean, a material is a material. So a design is a design. I don't fully agree, and I mean, even disagree that all this computer-based design is a future, but it's already happening, and natural materials are already part of it. You have 3D printed Earth house. Yeah. So, I mean, you can make parameters, and you make parametric design out of it. There is no difference with this material and other. You just need to find a way how to use it.
Can I add something? Because, for example, now it's very common. They got into the 3D print with the concrete. I don't know if you heard about it. It's getting more and more common, and they just did it already with plaster, with earthen plaster. No problem, it's the same.
Yeah,
not really the same, but you can do it also with earthen plaster. 3D.
Absolutely. Anyone else would like to contribute?
Hi there again. I can see there's a common understanding that it's relatively easy to impress the architects, but it's rather the craftsman to reach. Maybe craftshuman. That's the first time that I have heard that term. What can you say about the adjacent areas in construction, like the HVAC, plumbing, firefighting? I mean, is it too soon to talk about those? Or, I mean, I'm perfectly sure that there are not enough professionals, not engineers, designers, or workers on the site that are capable of working with natural materials. I have never heard a discussion regarding this matter before, even though I'm a mechanical engineer myself. I would like to hear about your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Very, very interesting question.
I mean, again, electric electricity is electric cable, water pipes are the same material in any building.
I'm actually asking about the educational part, like
how to use
there
it.
Any like ongoing projects about educating these professionals in natural buildings, like plumbing, HVAC, or like other mechanical or electrical stuff?
I mean, if we speak about mechanical engineering, yes, because there is all a field of how those materials are different for environmental control. So that's really important. And then for other, according to me, for other professions, this is important because they need to rethink maybe how they implement the cables, how they implement the pipe, how they implement the ventilation because of the material. So yes, that should be important, but it's all the same. It's a matter of detailing the building, detailing the construction. And again, yes, there is a need, and it's the same way we need to, it's the same involving craftsmen, craft people into those materials, whoever they are. I mean, I don't make any difference.
Wonderful.
Yes, involving through the whole building. For example, you can use earth material, for example, as well as wood, for example, and from the ground to the roof. Therefore, you all need. You have to include also the other professions.
Absolutely.
The whole professions who built up a building. Also the technical professions.
Absolutely. Could have the last question if that person still wants to ask something.
Thank you for this nice discussion. Can I learn, at least in Germany and the conditions in Turkey, what is the struggle that you're facing, especially with the building regulations and the use of natural material? I mean, in Germany, I suppose that, of course, you have this DIY, but what about the case in Turkey most of the time? Yeah, I mean, yeah, both sides would be good to learn, at least for us. Thank you.
But the case of Turkey, if you want to be load-bearing with earth, it's not possible. Stone, it's difficult, but possible. With timber, only timber 2-story. And then what you do? You just use timber, hybrid system with timber and steel, or timber on concrete, or even concrete and infill material. And why not? I mean, the structure in general of a building is what? 50% of the material, 10% of the material. So if all the others are natural materials, it's still a natural building. So for me, there is no problem. You can use as infill, at least for normal houses, for all public building. That's more complicated than your fire regulation and so on, and you need certified material that are not yet. So, but this is the case, I guess, basically the same in Germany.
Yeah, in Germany it's more regulated. We are the masters of the regulation. You know, there's also a term in Germany that unregulated things are regulated. It's really written there. Regulated things, and then on the bottom there, unregulated things, and then they are regulated.
Wonderful. Yes, please. Final comment, and I think we can wrap up after
we
that.
We have 3 regulations, but 2 of them cancelled. You have to only add cement if you want to load-bearing brick, earthen brick. But academicians working on it every time, every year, my professors, but we need a good politician, actually. We need to make it, take it inside the natural building construction side, and we need more politicians about it. It's the only way, I think.
Yeah.
For example, in Germany, there is a financial support for insulation of buildings because of energy. And but the politicians should say you have to insulate with a natural material. But they don't do. So everybody buys the low cost with much cheaper materials like polystyrene, styropor in Germany, and so that's it. We need a lot of support from the politicians that they change their way of their mindset and their mindset and their language.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so with that message to our politicians, I think we can we can end our discussion. Thank you very much for joining. I think we had a very lively discussion here. Yep, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, all of you. Please, big round of applause.